In the Life is funded in part by the H. Van Emmeringen Foundation, Arcus Foundation, the estate of Richard W. Weiland, and by these funders. And by the annual support of In the Life members like you.
I'm Kate Clinton, and I'm honored to be your host for this, the final episode of In the Life. Join me tonight as we look back at some of the highlights from In the Life's trailblazing 20 years of broadcasting on public television, documenting powerful images and stories of LGBT history.
We brought everybody together.
Act up! Healthcare is right!
And we're married.
There was nothing for him to hide.
Make a promise.
When I hosted In the Life in 1992, there weren't many lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender images on television. People tuned in to see and listen to stories of real LGBT people and to learn about the LGBT movement toward human rights.
Gay is good and gay is great!
Coming out around the time of Stonewall in the late 60s was so powerful because relatively few people had been able to do so before then. Coming out was a powerful first step in organizing, in self-actualization, and insisting on being who we are.
Frank came along with a very a clear vision in his mind of what we needed to do.
You had a whole establishment that had to be changed and reversed. And in order to get them to do that, you had to use political tactics.
People can't love you if they don't know you. They can't like you if they don't know you. You cannot fight for equality and be absent in the equation.
Almost everything we did back then was directed at visibility. Zaps, actions, kiss-ins, anything to let people know, hey, we exist.
The founders of the Gay Activists Alliance managed to acquire an old firehouse on Worcester Street in Soho. And among other things, they started to dance every Saturday night. You would have maybe 1,000, almost all men, a few women, coming to dance at what was clearly a political organization.
Sometimes you sat up at the castle and you'd look down and there'd be guys sitting there, and if you were kind of interested, you'd kind of catch his eye and smile and stuff, and if he smiled back, then you would go down, sit next to him, ask for a cigarette, ask for a light or something, start a conversation, and go home or maybe go back in the bushes if that was convenient.
Every single culture on this planet, every society, every continent, including the North Pole, has always had a range of gender expressions, but we haven't always been reviled and hunted and hated.
Women were writing romantic stories about women brave enough to buck the odds, to find each other, to make a life together in a period that was very hostile to that.
My friend's son came home one day with purple nails and said, yes, he's bisexual. And he says, well, that's cool. I mean, all the kids are, except for those straight jocks.
I didn't even think twice about what the flag would be. A rainbow fit us. It is from nature. It connects us to all the colors of sexuality and all the diversity in our community. When the flag went up and I was looking into the eyes of people that were around and seeing their reaction, I thought, oh my gosh, it's more than I dreamed.
In the Life touched people one at a time, changed opinions one at a time by providing evidence of the reality of LGBT lives. I am one of the people who was moved. The impact on my life is immeasurable. From Ann Lynn Benson, PFLAG.
Today, images of LGBT people on television are more widespread and diverse. At In the Life, we like to think our show may have played a small part in that.
I'm here with tens of thousands of others on a beautiful summer day. Today we begin our second quarter century of global visibility, continued activism, and a total commitment to equal rights for all.
Montana still has a law on the books that declares any same-sex sexual contact illegal.
Helena, Montana was having their first gay pride parade ever. And I flew to Helena, Montana to cover this pride parade for our June Pride special. And first thing that happens is that I see a bunch of yahoos with their signs, you know, steers, not queers.
So you're out here because it's God's law?
That's right. What are you? I suppose you're Leslie, huh? Are you? Can you truly say? I'm straight. That's what God put us on here. You're a woman, I'm a man. That's why we're here as two.
Right. So
what gives you and what do you think is right about being a lesbian or being a gay? That's my question to you.
And I was like, cut, done with this interview.
I knew I was gay probably at the age of 12. Well, it was pretty rough because everybody was very closeted about it, and I thought I was the only one.
When I came out, people's initial responses were, "Are you a Christian?" And that really bothered me. Just because I was gay, people automatically assumed that I couldn't believe in God.
I was walking down the street, and somebody my age went the other way, and I turned around to look, and I thought to myself, why did I do that? What was that? And I went, oh my God, I'm gay.
Not once have I ever been confronted by an individual who realized independently that I was raised by a gay couple. And you know why? Because the sexual orientation of my parents has had zero effect on the content of my character.
We went into the whole process expecting to encounter a homophobic judge, a homophobic social worker, and nowhere did we encounter it. And we quickly realized that the only people at these meetings at the agency who were feeling it that we were gay was us.
Right now, at this time in history, we have never before so needed the harmonious voices of a real diverse community. We need that now.
This comes to us from Matthew. When I was younger, I would be up late at night on a Sunday, and In the Life would be on PBS in Detroit. For me, a closeted teen, I would crave to see images of myself represented on TV. I want to thank you. As a child, I was scarred because I was different. But your program showed me that I was not different. It told me I was not alone.
In the Life pioneered LGBT visibility on television.
It never entered my mind that I wouldn't be considered a parent to my daughter. Lisa and I left the state of Virginia because of all the prejudice. We were fleeing Virginia to Vermont because of all the rights that Vermont afforded. And now, Lisa fled back to use those prejudices to sever my parental rights and my daughter's right to her other parent.
I just recently got diagnosed with MS. I have this disease, and it's not pretty. The benefits that we are fighting for Maggie are the same benefits that a heterosexual couple would get.
The reason that the military provides this high level of support and benefits for family members is because family readiness is mission readiness. You can't serve well if you're worried about your family back home, or if you're worried about whether or not you're just going to be able to make your bills at the end of the month.
It's more about Maggie than even about me. And I need to make sure that she's taken care of if something does happen to me. And right now, she's not.
We went in. We were greeted by Dr. Christine Brody. She said, it goes against my religious beliefs to create a life with a homosexual couple.
Patients have the right, under the civil rights law, to be treated the same as other patients, and not to be treated differently based on a personal characteristic like sexual orientation, race, religion, or national origin.
All I want is to have a baby. I told him, I'm not looking for anything else.
Our goal when we were going to do a lawsuit about this was the people behind us, about other people being treated this way. It wasn't okay.
Parents of transgender kids have a need that sometimes goes beyond lesbian, gay, and bisexual kids because there's such a medical component and a provider component of it. So we broke out a separate parent support group for the trans parents.
I'm happy to meet other people who are dealing with similar situations that we are. It just makes us feel like we're not alone.
Kids who are perceived to be LGBT, even if they don't identify as LGBT, those are the kids that are disproportionately impacted by bullying. And ironically, they're the kids that are most neglected.
He was shoved into lockers.
Poked in the back with pencils, constant verbal abuse. He was threatened with assault daily.
Called faggot, homo, queer, gay.
Well, he was ordered to shoot himself by these two bullies from that class for at least 2 months, from what the students were telling us. I mean, that's how vicious the bullying was.
And so he did.
I produced this piece on a woman called Irene Monroe, and that was my first piece I ever produced for television, and my first piece for In the Life.
I do think that as lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people, we need to take back the Bible. The very tool that's used as a tool of oppression, we can turn that around to be a tool of liberation.
The day after that show aired, the first time across the country, I got an email from a gay kid in Iowa. He said, "Last week I bought the gun. Yesterday I wrote the note. Last night I happened to see your show on PBS, and just knowing that someday, somewhere, I could possibly go back into a church with my head held high, I threw the gun in the river. My mom never has to know."
In the Life put a human face on the AIDS crisis.
I continue with my hopes and dreams for a future intact. Behave as if you will be here. Then, if death comes tomorrow, I don't feel cheated.
Why ACT UP was so successful? Because everybody was terrified. Everybody was terrified of dying, which most of them did. And everybody was young and angry with a lot of energy, and that's why we were able to mobilize so many people. That's what ACT UP at its height was all about, fighting to save our own lives.
I'd been there locally in New York, and I'd been there lobbying Congress for the first hearings on AIDS. We'd been to the FDA, and now there was a protest at the White House, but I was a government official. So I did it, and I was arrested, and it was one of my proudest moments.
Maybe that is one of the main lessons we taught, that gay people were not going to lie down and die, that gay people could be angry and could fight back.
I want to take some time out now, and if there's anybody else in this room today that is HIV positive and you're not ashamed, you're not afraid, come and stand here with me. This is what HIV looks like. Yeah. Strong people. Yeah. People of faith. Yeah. Black people.
I just want to live like a human being. I just want to be like anybody else. They assigned me a military lawyer. He told me that I was going to be looking at 8 to 12 years for aggravated assault, not disclosing my status.
HIV infection new cases have been predominantly amongst young Black and Latino men who have sex with men.
We let the young people run their ball. They competed for their categories. All the houses came. And it was really a great way for us to get young people tested. We tested a lot of people at that event for HIV. And it was really an unbelievable evening. It was very supportive and was a great example, I think, for young people of community work.
We received this letter from Tiki Barber, former New York Giants running back, after he appeared on our show. "I wanted to be a part of In the Life because there is a responsibility on all of us to address issues of tolerance and acceptance in sports.
I think it's important for straight athletes to talk about this taboo subject at times, gay athletes, because it sparks a discussion. Think about a time when African Americans weren't allowed to play sports simply because of the color of their skin. And think about the contributions that were missed then that are now capitalized on. It's the same thing with sexual orientation as it was with skin color.
It will only take one lesbian or gay high-profile athlete to be the pioneer for societal change in sports. And in time, just as we've seen in the past, sexual orientation won't matter.
In the Life created inspiring portraits.
Who's Stormy? I'm a human being that survived. I've helped other people survive.
I want them to have a fire in the belly. I want them to have a transformative experience when they take their first step.
There's a lot more gay truckers than you think. It's the perfect way to get to know someone better, because you're together all the time. It's just a great way for gay couples to be able to stay together, and there's so many of them.
What things do you think you paid a cost for because you're out?
Very little. And in a lot of ways, I think it's even helped politically, because I honestly believe that a lot of people, both in the general electorate and among my colleagues, admire honesty.
A woman had never been elected, a lesbian had never been elected. There were always reasons not to do it. Sure, there were days I didn't know whether this could happen or not. There were many such days, but I always had faith.
You must represent yourselves and you must speak directly to the public. We cannot be intermediaries and have an effect.
Finally, I was nominated by President Clinton and was sworn in as a federal district court judge June 23rd, 1994, which was during Gay Pride Week.
Which is do whatever we can, because you're not only investing in the future of the planet, you're investing in an individual's future. And when you can see face to face the smile and the way their eyes light up when the room starts taking shape, it's just magical. It makes it all really, really worthwhile.
My life is better than it's ever been, just because of coming out.
It's been like lifting off a burden off my shoulders that I've carried for all these 800 years I've lived.
Was it difficult for you to identify with someone who's such an outcast in society?
No, I mean, from that point of view, I knew it fairly well, being raised with a choreographer and a ballet teacher as a mother and doing ballet all my life in Redneck, Texas, that went over like a fart in a spacesuit.
I'm telling you, friends, heterosexuals are a thing of the past, like Britney Spears, Andrew Lloyd Webber, and Ron Reagan Jr. So again, I ask you, do we need them? Of course we do. They're our kids. Besides, if there were no heterosexuals, who would play us on TV?
This one is from Deborah Maria. I will miss the monthly In the Life programs. I have watched every episode for the past 8 years. I always look forward to whatever subjects you highlight and have learned much. Thank you for encouraging LGBTQ people who are affirmed by your interviews and for bringing LGBTQ life into the public eye.
In the Life embraced diversity as a strength.
I still struggle with how I can be Muslim and practice the religion, but also be true to my sexuality. It's such a contradiction.
Contrary to popular belief, Latinos are very often, and even more often than the general population, likely to be accepting of an LGBT person in their midst.
But la única palabra that we do not understand is hate. Y que siga, y que siga, y que siga la tradición bajo la luna maybe, pero jamás en el corazón.
In the Life gave voice to those not heard by the mainstream media.
I think that my work is definitely about trying to destroy certain misconceptions of what it means to be gay or black or a person of color. We're actually trying to engage in some manner in social change.
The Sisters really started in 1979 with the intent of performing community service, performing theater, and to educate the public on social and health issues.
I used to do this all the time before I could afford Polaroid film. I just look in the mirror and pose myself. So all the characters, they really do look like me. Like they have my hands and move like me.
In the Life celebrated artists.
She was going to go audition for a job, and in order to get it, she was going to put on men's clothes. She put on a man's jacket, slicked her hair back, went off, auditioned for the job, got the job, went on the road, came home with money in her pocket, and from that day on, they said, she never looked back.
Carol, I've always wanted to hear these songs way down in the register that the men sing.
No composer wants his song sung down there, and we did it anyway, and I relaxed completely and I just said, hello, Harry. Well, hello, Louie.
I'm just a really open person, for better or for worse. My agents, publicists, people would perhaps want me to be less open, but it's just the way I am.
In an artistic environment, when you are trying to foster people being completely open, think of what people have to do here. They pour their souls out. And the way you get people to do that, the way you can do that, is try to create an environment where people are just open.
I used to love to go to the countryside. No one can see me, and I had the freedom to dance. I remember that feeling as that freedom of expression.
Emily writes, I loved watching In the Life. I have learned so much and it's helped me be a better ally in my personal and professional life. Thank you.
In the Life shattered stereotypes, challenged public perceptions, and exposed discrimination.
The teenager sitting next to you on the train, you think they're taking a nap when that's their sleep for the day, just so that they could stay up at night and nothing bad happens.
Women have babies, guys go off to war. We had very distinct gender roles. You wear this, you wear that.
It's all a construct, you know, the idea that people are supposed to behave in certain ways because of their gender. That's made up.
Ohio is only one of 3 states that will not correct a birth certificate for transgendered individuals, which makes it very difficult for people when it comes to employment, because they're supposed to show all this identification, and if their identification, say their driver's license says male, and their birth certificate says female, there's incongruency.
In detention facility, there's a lot of safety concerns for young people who are LGBT. In particular for transgender youth, if a transgender girl is placed in a boys' detention facility, she's really at very high risk for physical and sexual abuse in the facility, but at the hands of her peers and also at the hands of facility staff.
It's hard when you are a trans woman and you have certain features about yourself that may not be the norm of what a female image is supposed to look like. So then you start thinking of ways of going about feminizing yourself, even if it means, okay, I don't have thousands of dollars to go see a cosmetic surgeon, but you know, I have a couple hundred, maybe I can go see this girl down the street and she can, you know, pump me with silicone in her living room.
We also tackled international LGBT stories.
Homosexuality is illegal in Uganda. It has been illegal since the colonial times. Before this bill came out, homosexuality was illegal and it was punishable by 14 years in jail.
If this bill were actually to become law in Uganda, consensual conduct would be subjected to life imprisonment with the possibility of the death penalty for certain homosexual acts or repeat offending acts.
Anybody who looked different or behaved differently or seemed to be a threat was a target. As the violence generally in Nepal worsened, so too the violence against queer communities.
I left home. When people in the village, when they spit on me, then how can I go back to that place?
Nigdy wcześniej tak bardzo się nie bałam.
Mam wokół siebie przyjaciół, ale tak naprawdę jestem mocno przestraszony, to znaczy...
In the Life provoked engaging conversations.
Gay liberation originally and first and foremost meant for us sexual liberation. It was very hard for gay and lesbian people to meet each other.
Yeah, I agree with you that it gave sexual freedom, but I also think it gave identity.
Remember, there's the boycott of Basic Instinct because Sharon Stone's murdering character was a lesbian.
There seems to be a gap in terms of media coverage of transgender women specifically. We actually have lives that need to be covered and civil rights that need to be attained and fought for.
The right to be married is a civil right. And I believe civil rights ought to be extended to everybody. Who ought not have these rights?
Marriage doesn't save one, doesn't protect one.
Marriage is not a condom.
Marriage is not a condom. That's why you need condom sense.
In the Life was there.
Ayes 33, nays 29. Democracy works when the people speak, and the people spoke in volumes.
Hate crimes are a form of terrorism.
It really just galvanized people, and not just gay people, but straight people also.
The crime against Matthew Shepard has shocked the conscience of the country.
The accusation in the police report was that I had not disclosed my HIV status prior to conducting this relationship.
If a person with HIV cannot prove that he or she disclosed to a partner, then they're at risk.
We want to thank you, our viewers, for helping In the Life create a lasting legacy of LGBT visibility.
What a day in San Francisco! What a day for equality!
I knew that to get noticed, you had to be telling a different story.
It was as if his entire life became this artwork.
Well, I always had crushes on women.
Just being an out lesbian, we were the first ones to kind of push that door down.
Specialist Hal, you are being discharged from the Army on the grounds of homosexual conduct.
I don't feel transgender. I consider myself a boy.
Stand up and tell your truth.
We need to put a real face to this community.
I just think there's just only a certain amount of time where we can make a difference.
You don't get what you don't fight for.
Stop editing us out of American history.
Thanks for watching In the Life. For updates on our archive, visit itlmedia.org. I'm Kate Clinton, signing off for In the Life and wishing you peace and equality wherever you are.
Well, guys and gals, that about wraps it up for this episode of In the Life.
So good night from all of us at In the Life. Our thanks to everyone who helped make it possible.
Thank you all so much. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching In the Life.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all the years in the life. You impacted many, many people. Thank you.
In the Life is funded in part by the H. Van Emmeringen Foundation, Arcus Foundation, the estate of Richard W. Weiland, and by these funders. And by the annual support of In the Life members like you.